Hello and welcome to Boomer Live once again. And today we are here to talk about the Asia Cup squad announcement. As you all know, the squad is announced officially, so we're here to talk about the Indian team, which has been announced a 17-member squad, which will be traveling to Sri Lanka. And of course, as we mentioned yesterday as well, it could possibly be a 17-member squad and not a 15. So here we're going to talk about who are the 17 who made it to the Indian team, and of course to see who all have missed out as well. To start with, I have Jen with me here. Jen, what did you overall make of it? Because it was an interesting squad selection. Most of the names picked themselves, almost 10 spots logged themselves, you can see in the team, maybe except a one or two. But other than that, how did you make of the squad announcement in totality?
Yeah, not many surprises there, Abel. From what we knew, the mood was in the selection camp and the Indian team. We knew the kind of players that are going to come up. I think the only two causes for for contention probably would have been Sanju Samson, inclusion. Maybe also the fitness concerns that were over Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul. Now, what we are hearing so far is that Sanju Samson has been picked as a stand-in player because KL Rahul has a slight niggle, which is something that is picked up during his preparation for the Asia Cup and not something which is related to the injury that he's had. So that's the reason why Sanjay Samson's been picked up in case KL Rahul's injury concern continues. But aside from that, it just seems like a very standard team to what I saw. But personally, if you ask me, I still feel Sanjay Samson deserved that call up ahead of an Ishan Kishan at least because he hasn't at all looked the part for me, and he's probably there as a backup opener to Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill. But
Mhm.
yeah, even someone like a Suryakumar Yadav, 26 games, average of 23. A lot of questions there about Suryakumar Yadav's inclusion as well because you've given him ample amount of opportunities. Tilak Verma, I know that a lot of people are questioning his selection, but then as we said yesterday also, right, he's got a slight edge over the others because he's a left-hand batter who can come in the middle order and he can ball a bit as well if India ever needs one. And that's the reason why I think he's been selected there a little ahead of maybe someone like Sanju Samson. I think if he wasn't a left-handed batter, Tilak Verma, you could have probably seen a Sanju Samson get in there. But Tilak Verma, that's the only reason why I see him getting an maiden ODI call-up. But aside from that, not much surprises, Abel.
Absolutely. I mean, that's very interesting that you mentioned about Tilak Verma as well. I mean, we obviously thought Tilak Verma will be a standby player, but do you reckon getting him straight into an ODI mix without him having zero one-day international experience in a tournament like Asia Cup, that's a little too quick or fast tracking after seeing a couple of innings in West Indies? Because at this point, at least Sanju Samson was the need of the hour. If you were to play someone like Sanju Samson there instead of KL Rahul because of the injury concern, as Aditya Agarkar rightly mentioned, the injury which KL Rahul is carrying will make him miss out for 3 games at least. So, which means he's not going to be fit for Asia Cup. So, in that regard, you'll have to change the entire batting order to fit in a wicket keeper. And even if you have to bring in Sanju Samson, you'll have to replace him with someone in the Asia Cup. So, that is pretty chaotic at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Sanjay Samson isn't going to be playing, that's for sure. The only way I see him play is instead of KL Rahul. Now, that being said, Abel, now my question is if I think, as far as I know, KL Rahul isn't playing the first two matches of the Asia Cup because of the niggle. It's a possibility. So, if that's the case, then I have a feeling what's going to happen is there's going to be a reshuffling of the order, as you're saying. You might see someone like Ishan Kishan come in, open the batting with Shubman Gill, and then probably Rohit and Virat drop down. Now that's surprising if that happens, or maybe Ishan Kishan comes at number three and then Virat at four and so on. So that's again an issue, right? And that's where I feel if you are certain that Ishan Kishan, that someone like KL Rahul might not play for the first two matches, then I would have rather gone with Sanju in the squad and Ishan as a standby player. But now it obviously looks like Ishan Kishan, the management feels Ishan Kishan deserves a better chance, a bigger opportunity. But I certainly don't, and I know a lot of cricket fans as well are a little surprised at that because if you really look at his one-day career, right? If you remove the 200 odd runs that he scored against Bangladesh, he's only scored 400 or so runs in 16 matches or in 15 innings, and that really reduces his average from what it looks at 46 right now, which is probably an inflation, obviously, because of that 200 odd runs. Because he scored 694 runs in 16 innings, but obviously 200 of those have come, or one third of those have come in a single match. Compared to that, I think the kind of role that you would have easily been easier puzzle to fit in this Indian lineup would have been Sanju Samson. So a little bit of favoritism is what even I think. I see a little color of that, a little blue shade, so as to say, when it comes to picking those players, and the IPL bias from Rohit Sharma is genuinely what I feel is really being reflected in the squad that is selected.
So you can, in that case, again the questions have to be asked, especially when it comes to Tilak Verma and Surya Kumar Yadav as well, because with Ishan Kishan, at least there's a backup opener which makes him stand out. He scored three back-to-back 50s in West Indies, so that is a good ending for Ishan Kishan to put himself or put a case for himself at least in the score. But when you talk about Surya Kumar Yadav, who averages 13 in the last 8, 9 innings, or Tilak Verma, who's not even played a single one-day international, that is a serious bit of concern, because then you're talking about clear favoritism from the Indian team in terms of picking the squad. And not just that, are you just waiting for Surya Kumar Yadav to click at one point to stage? Because he still hasn't clicked, but you're hoping that he brings that one innings as he does in T20 internationals.
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely what the management is expecting from him. But for me, I think, me personally, I think Surya Kumar Yadav, his major issue is that he feels the need to, bat longer when it comes to a 50 overs game than a T20 game, which is also a valid requirement. It's pretty obvious. It's in the name that you're playing 50 overs. Compared to 20 overs, you need to survive for longer as a batter. But probably for me, the way to go is to push him down the order, make his entry at a point where it's more of a T20 game than a 50 overs game. Bring him when 20 overs are left, 15 overs are left, and I think Surya Kumar Yadav will do better, because even ballers, they're not really looking for that aggressive option anymore. They're not looking to swing the ball in. They're not looking to get a wicket out there. They're trying to, at least most of the ballers you would see in that last third 15 to 10 overs, they're looking to defend. They're looking to ball defensive lenses, Yorkers, or maybe slower deliveries. That's where I think Surya Kumar Yadav is at his best. When the ballers don't have much options. But having said that, Abel, I have to say one thing. There is a very good chance that the ball might reverse swing in 1 or 2 matches when it comes to these conditions, because we've seen this happen with with this ball, that sometimes, surprisingly enough, it has started to reverse swing. And if that happens, and if Surya Kumar Yadav comes in, then the question is, can he survive? Because it's going to still swing. Someone like a Mitchell Stark, if he's fit enough for the World Cup, which is most likely what we're hearing, or players who can, create something from the ball, maybe someone like a Trent Bolt, for instance, or a Tim Saudi, they might cause some issues for him. So that's where I'm a little concerned again. If how long are you going to push him? It's not a bad strategy to push a player for so long, but my question is also, if you're pushing someone like Surya Kumar Yadav, then why not push someone like Sanju Samson as well, who's given you those I know he's never had a big score, he's never scored a big whooping 100 or something like that, but he's always had those small innings where he's helped someone else score freely, or he's someone who's brought in that impetus back into the game. Even the Ireland game, right? It was a T20 game, I know, but if you see where he entered for 35 for 2, 36 for 2, where you just lost Tilak Varma and Yashasvi Jaiswal back to back, and he came in and he scored a 40 out of 26 balls. That was a quick fire innings, which really set the stage up for someone like Shivam Dubey and Rinku Singh to go ahead and build the score to 185. That's what Sanju Samson can do. That's what Sanju Samson has done for India, especially in the white ball format. I know he's very volatile, but then so has been Surya Kumar Yadav. But that's where Sanju Samson has been a slightly more solid option for me compared to Surya
Yeah.
Kumar Yadav, because Surya Kumar Yadav has been really volatile.
Wait, tell me
He's
this.
been
I
looking
understand
completely
that
different.
you're mixing and matching formats for one player, but not for
Correct.
Sanju Samson. Because you're looking at a
Absolutely.
T20 form for one day, but for Surya Kumar Yadav, you're not looking at just one day form, you're just looking at T20 form. And similarly for Tilak Verma as well. But whereas a player who's performed well in one day cricket, you're totally ignoring him or sidelining him without any due cause. So that's what it doesn't make any sense. So only for Sanju Samson, the parameters are different, and for other players, the parameters are totally different. So do you reckon that is very, very biased on behalf of selectors, the captain, the management, and everybody else as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I think even looking at this team, it does seem like Ajit Agarkar has given Rohit Sharma the free hand at choosing. This is my interpretation from the squad that I see, because most of these players, you can definitely say that these are players that Rohit Sharma likes in general, right? He loves using these players. He's worked with them in the past, and it does seem like Ajit Agarkar also probably being new at this job. This is his first ever selection job, major selection job before for in a big tournament. I can totally understand that he would have those certain blues when it comes to selecting teams. And Rohit Sharma, on the other hand, is a captain who's at least you would have to say has had the experience in the Indian team as well for the past 1.5 year now. So it does seem like Rohit Sharma is the one who took major decisions as to the contentions that we knew that's going to come into play when you're selecting this team. So for me, now this is Rohit Sharma's team. For the first time ever, I feel this is Rohit Sharma's team. The selections he's made, the calls he's made are his. So if there's anyone to blame, it has to be Rohit Sharma. And for me, you're right. You're absolutely right. Just seems like Sanju Samson's not in the team because Rohit Sharma feels that Tilak Verma or a Surya Kumar Yadav can do those roles better than a Sanju Samson.
Yeah, I agree with you on that because at least the selection committee feels that they need a left-hander in the middle, and that's one of the reasons why they've picked Tilak Verma ahead of someone like a Sanju Samson as well. And Surya Kumar Yadav, they just believe that he can come into a finishing job at some stage. But you still reckon Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul starts straight off, or if at least when they both are fit, they'll play in number 4, number 5 in this team because it is what the team suggests like. And in that case, Surya Kumar Yadav doesn't find a spot in the 11 at all.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the play, right? For me, at least, it has to be Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul. You have to give them as many opportunities as possible to perform because if you, especially someone like Shreyas Iyer, as we mentioned last time as well, he's not played cricket since January. He's the only experience he's probably had is watching Rinku Singh smash those 5 6s. But aside from that, he's never been connected to what's been happening on the field. So you need to give him as many opportunities as possible. Hope that he's obviously not going to be 100%, but by the time the World Cup comes, he has to be 100%. So again, I suppose you're right. Surya Kumar Yadav misses out because of that one reason. It's probably going to be KL Rahul at number 4, Shreyas at number 5, and then you have the likes of Hardik Pandya, Jadeja coming in, probably even Akshar Patel from what we've heard at the press conference, or a Shardul Thakur. So now that is the way to go. And Surya Kumar Yadav, if not in the squad, we are already saying he doesn't deserve to be in the squad. I definitely don't think he deserves to be in the playing 11. Compare him to the likes of Shreyas Iyer. We saw the numbers yesterday. This is phenomenal, and so is KL Rahul. So definitely not in the playing 11, and it's a fair call as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we can go to the bowling side of things slightly before we are almost done with the batting side of it. Big call. Yuzvendra Chahal misses out. Prasidh Krishna makes a shot for himself, and as we predicted, it's going to be Akshar, Jadeja, and Kuldeep as spinners. Your thoughts on having someone like an Prasidh Krishna? Now you have 5 seamers or 6, including Hardik Pandya, and 3 spinners. Isn't that a little bit of surprise for you because playing in Sri Lanka, playing in India, you would need an extra spinner, and you decide to go in with the Prasidh Krishna over here. I'm pretty sure he's not going to make it to the 15 for the World Cup, but even for Asia Cup, he is the one who got a nod ahead instead of Yuzvendra Chahal.
Yeah, I think able for me, Chahal has done really well. He's taken 37 wickets, and I mean at a very good average as well. But if you look at even someone like Prasidh Krishna, right? He hasn't played many games, but he's picked 25 wickets at an bowling average 23.92. In fact, if you look at the top 6 wicket takers for India since 2019 World Cup, Prasidh Krishna has the second best bowling average, and the only one who's better than him is Mohammad Siraj. And Mohammad Siraj, at this point in time, we all know he's just playing at a different plane altogether. He's nowhere. He's off charts. So to match to the extent of Prasidh Krishna, even the likes of Kuldeep Yadav, who's been prolific for India, hasn't really picked wickets at the average of Prasidh Krishna, you would have to say. So that's the only reason why I feel he's been brought in, because he's just the kind of performances that he's had has been phenomenal. And I also think genuinely able the reason why he's been selected is because probably when you look at that squad, you feel that the kind of fast bowlers that we've picked up, Shardul Thakur, be it Jasprit Bumrah, Siraj, Mohammad Shami, especially someone like Bumrah, right? We don't know if he is going to, how injury free he's going to be. That's going to take some time. That's going to be a few matches before we can completely believe that, okay, Bumrah isn't going to be injured again, because we've seen this with him. He looked really good in the Ireland series. His pace is a little down, but he's been bowling perfect lengths. We spoke about it. But now what happens if Bumrah is injured? So I think that's the only reason why Prasidh Krishna is there, because you're looking at someone who could probably be a replacement for Bumrah. On the other hand, Jadeja and Kuldeep are a lot more fitter. So you're expecting they won't be injured. And that's probably the reason why Chahal is been sidelined, because he's not going to be in the 11. As we discussed yesterday, Rohit Sharma himself in the press conference said that we're looking at a batter who can bat in number 8, number 9, and Chahal isn't that player. If you play Chahal, we will have to play him at number 8, number 9. Or a Kuldeep will come at number 8. So I think that's the only reason why I see someone like Prasidh Krishna being in the team. He's done well in the Ireland series as well. With a new ball, he's balled really well. Only concern though, if Bumrah gets injured, who balls in the death? Prasidh has slightly erred in length. Barry McCarthy and the likes of Curtis Camphor has gone after him. He's not really looked as to which line and length he's going to be balling. But aside from that, when it comes to new ball, Prasidh Krishna has been phenomenal. He's been picking up wickets for us with the new ball and in the middle overs as well. So that's the only reason why I see him getting that nod ahead of Chahal. But aside from that, I think Chahal, if any one of those spinners get injured, Chahal is the next pick.
Oh, I agree with you totally in that because Chahal is the go-to man at this point in the stage, at least if any of the spinners get injured. But yeah, I mean it's not a bad thing at all. We did see this coming yesterday as well that Chahal will
Yeah.
not be given that preference because of how the team balance was going to line up into. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the team overall, I think a lot of selections will have to pick themselves. And if you look at the top 10, at least 10 of them lock their spots. Now, the only issue is Siraj or Shami. I think Siraj will get the nod ahead. What do you reckon about that? Because I think there are going to be two seamers plus Shardul Thakur or Akshar Patel. That's going to be between Shardul and Akshar to find out for number 8. But other than that, only two seamers get an opportunity. Unfortunately, on ideal circumstances, you would want Shami, Siraj, and Bumrah to play. But then the question again comes to number 8 batter, who's the ideal fit over there. But barring that particular issue, I think it's going to be between Siraj and Shami to get the nod. I think Bumrah will start every match. Maybe he might be given a rest here or so if India are cruising along in the World Cup or in the Asia Cup as well. If India have already made to the final, I think Bumrah will get a rest here or so. But other than that, I see Siraj and Bumrah being the starters and Shami to be the next change after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you because I think there's also the factor that Mohammad Siraj can do better than someone like a Mohammad Shami when it comes to the death overs because he's been just phenomenal in the death overs in the one day format. He's especially in that last 10 overs or so. He's racked up, I think, around 5 wickets. He balls at an economy of close to 6.8, 6.53, somewhere in that range. Compared to that, Mohammad Shami has been slightly errant, when it comes to the death bowling. So I think if you have to compare both of them with a new ball, Mohammad Shami on his day or Siraj on his day, you would say that both of them can do that job. But when it comes to the death bowling, that's the only issue because Mohammad Shami tends to travel a little bit. Even though he might pick the odd wickets here and there, he tends to pick wickets in the death overs. But bowling in the when it comes to bowling in the death, his economy rates close to 9 compared to that Mohammad Shami close to 7. So you obviously want a Mohammad Siraj rather close to 7. And I think Bumrah Siraj together they can pair up in the death overs especially. Considering that, probably the reason why I think Mohammad Siraj for me as well goes into the 11 and Shami will have to take a back seat.
Absolutely, and there's no doubt about it because of the very fact that Mohammad Salah is a well all-round package at this point. But yeah,
Yeah.
again coming back to the very fact, it all depends on how your top three again performs. If Virat, Rohit, Shubman can give a good tournament, then the bulk of scoring will definitely be divided among the top three. Then the 4 and 5 will not be spotlighted as much as we're worrying, but ultimately, it really depends on how you really want to see them. Thoughts on Hardik Pandya again, because Hardik Pandya has been very keen to bat at number 5 in ODIs and even in T20s. The question is, Hardik Pandya has been trying to change his game quite a lot. He's taking a lot more time to settle in and to get going. You reckon for this team at least, maybe in one day cricket he can afford to do it, maybe 10, 15 balls, then maybe see eye in and get going. How do you see this new model version of Hardik Pandya? Because it is still a bit of concern at times because his consistency factor has certainly dropped down. I mean, he was consistent last year, but this year especially, he's not been consistent at all. He's been scoring 115 at least 5 innings or 6 innings or 8 innings at times. The stretch goes on. And when it comes to his ability to pick up wickets as well, I mean, that's one thing which is there, but it's not that of a occurrence which happens quite often. So that is going to be slightly concerning for Team India, especially because Hardik Pandya will have to fire, and Hardik Pandya will have to fire by scoring some bulk of finishing things as well, because he'll have to do the bulk of the finishing role alongside Ravindra Jadeja. But then Hardik Pandya will be the sole finisher for this team, considering how the team is going to line up.
I mean, for me, Abel, I still feel that Hardik Pandya shouldn't really try and change his game in any way. That onset of trying to change the game started ever since Gujarat Titans when he had to bat at number 4 for their team because they didn't have enough batters in that spot, and he had to take up the responsibility to lengthen the batting lineup. But in this Indian team now, you genuinely don't think you need that style of a player because you've already got the likes of Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli who will do that for you. And if you add in a KL Rahul and a Shreyas Iyer, I know he doesn't. He is someone who usually starts at a 90 strike rate. Even if he's not scoring boundaries, what he will do is he'll keep tapping singles and doubles. He will not go below 80. And his strike rate in one day cricket is again about 90, if I'm not wrong. So that is not an issue. But I feel number 5, number 6, number 7, the strike rate should be about 90 at all times. And, and even if not at all times, at least after the first 10 balls, they should probably just hit the road running. And that's where Hardik Pandya trying to slow down. I don't know if it's good for this Indian team. It's great for the Gujarat Titans team, but this Indian team will need him to play at the same levels that he played in the Champions Trophy, or the same levels that we know the Hardik Pandya of, the explosive batter. That's the batter we need. That's the batter we need from Jadeja as well. So for me, that kind of change is really antithetic to the needs of Indian team.
Absolutely, because that's one thing which is going to affect Indian team anyways. And his position is so crucial for the team India to win the Asia Cup or in the World Cup, because I think as a finisher, I don't see anybody else other than Hardik Pandya doing the job, because even Surya Kumar Yadav is not going to make it as a playing 11. And even if he does, he's not yet finished a game for India. So there's a lot of question marks, and Hardik Pandya is possibly the proven player. He's been around for a longest period of time. He's an experienced player. He's a vice captain of this team now. We all did expect him to maybe get that position stripped away, but it is not. They entrusted in him to go ahead with this particular series as well and see how things stand. I think he's going to be the vice captain for the World Cup as well, as of how it stands. But final thoughts, especially when it comes to this team, how do you read this team? Because it looks like a team which we all expected it to be from the predicted squad, but we had not a lot of changes, maybe just a couple of additions because of the 17 members. We had picked up a 15-member squad. So other than that, everybody picked themselves quite comfortably.
Yeah, I think this is a very good team on paper. They really, they cover a lot of bases. You feel like this team now will bat till number 8 quite easily, and they've got close to 6 bowling options, including Hardik Pandya, Jadeja, and the other three. I mean, and Shardul Thakur, and obviously the 3 bowlers that we'll be picking for the team. Kuldeep probably, and then Shami and Siraj. I mean, not Shami, rather Bumrah and Siraj. So that's a very decent one-day team. Only issue though, Abel, now is a Pakistan team, for instance, or a Sri Lankan team, even an Afghanistan team. Now, would you going to be looking at our teams who've played together, who have gelled together for a year and a half? I'll be very frank. This is probably one of the first Asia Cups ever since 2008 when I can remember that this Pakistan team now seems slightly better in terms of both experience of playing together and the kind of performances or results that we've seen compared to the Indian team, because the Indian team has not played one day cricket for a long time. They've not really played. This team has not played one day cricket for a long time.
Yeah,
I mean, bits and pieces of this team has. Compare that to a Pakistan team which has played together for so long, a Sri Lankan team which has played together for so long. In their conditions, you would say that Sri Lanka is going to be really strong. Pakistan too. Now this Afghanistan series they're going to be playing. I think they also have a series in Sri Lanka, if I'm not wrong, before the
yeah, they do
Asia
have
Cup,
an
so
Afghanistan
which means
series.
they're going to be much much better prepared. So that's the concern for me. I feel like a repeat of last year's Asia Cup is on cards, Abel, and that's something that scares me as an Indian cricket fan, because I feel suddenly you will feel that Rohit Sharma himself isn't aware of all the intricacies of a player. And on the other hand, you might see a lot of flexibility. I know today he said in the press conference that these players will sit into their positions, but then that's only if KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer are both playing. If they aren't playing, that's when the questions really start forming. As long as they play, you would say that this team will do well. But then it's again, the match practice of playing together as a team. That's the one thing that concerns me.
Now, if that is not the first thing, I don't even know what's a playing 11 for the first match, because if KL Rahul is in fit, then you're going to see Ishan Kishan
Yeah.
open, maybe Shubman Gill at 3, then Virat Kohli at 4. But then he was also very clear that Virat and himself will be batting at 2 and 3. So no idea as to who's going to open the batting at this point
Shubman at four.
when it comes to Shubman Gill. Hmm?
Shubman at four, maybe.
Not sure about that. So that is going to be a little bit of havoc again. So
Yeah.
as of now, what it stands, it looks like Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and Shubman Gill are the openers, and maybe Ishan Kishan might bat at number 4 in that particular match of 5
I think
and see how things go.
to be able, if KL Rahul is injured, I would throw the cap to Tilak Verma. I would tell him, all right, lad, you don't have any baggage.
We're
You've
going to keep the wickets in.
never had. The keeping is going to be an issue. Yeah, of course.
There's no more goalkeepers. That's the only issue.
Yeah,
Or the
yeah.
Tilak Verma really walks into that team. But
Correct,
yeah,
correct.
so as
Obviously.
of now, there is no keeper. Because of this keeping conundrum, what's going to happen is that you don't even have a Rishabh Pant at this point to bat in the middle order. So you'll
Yeah,
have to look at another option. Ishan Kishan, who's not been tried and tested there. He's going into this tournament solely as a backup opener and a keeper, if at all the backup opening position is available. So given all these circumstances, I think that's trouble for India. No settled 11. I don't even know how many matches KL Rahul is going to even get before leading into that World Cup. So there are a lot of questions. Ideal circumstances, Sanju Samson should have been in the in the squad. If
absolutely.
everything
It just
is settled.
seems like such a. It seems like a, in an MCQ, you've selected the least probable option. It's the
Yeah.
easiest answer would have been Sanju
It
Samson.
should have been Tilak Verma in the
Yeah,
reserves and Sanju Samson because that is the best possible option for you.
because
Now,
I
what
mean,
Sanju Samson has to do is Sanju Samson
yeah,
has to replace the player in the squad. Now, that is even harder.
yeah,
So that is the way. That's where the mess the selectors have created. They have dug a hole for themselves again, is what I believe, and they have nobody else to blame than them. Because if you are giving so much leverage for a player who's half fit, if KL Rahul is a niggle, I don't think it's Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma to get a walk into any squad. I don't even know why is he getting that treatment, and that's one of the reasons why we have failed. We have been so individual focused. We're trying to build a squad around KL Rahul here as the most important player of the team than anyone else. And I don't even think he's the most important player of the team. I know his runs have been great, but it's not too great to say that he's our sole match winner in every one day we have played. So
yeah,
it is the only reason why it really baffles me as to why Sanju Samson doesn't make to that team because KL Rahul is injured, and why isn't our selection committee waking up from it again? If there's an Asia Cup debacle, selection, people are going to ask serious questions. And the moment you lose that game against Pakistan, if at all we lose on 2nd of September, the
yeah,
questions are going to be on them straight away. And there's no two ways about it. And the selection committee will meet and will propose a score on 5th of September. That's the last day for the provisional squad submission. So we'll have to come up with a score on that day. So by then, if India does do bad, at least in one of those two games, the one is against Nepal, which I still believe is an easy encounter for them. But if India goes on and lose to Pakistan, the questions are going to be massive, and then it's going to be tough for them to answer, and they'll have to come up with something for that. So I think they've dug a hole for themselves at this point. They did not really consider this angle, and even though they knew it, but that did not really cross their mind. I think their biasness took over the front seat over the logical reasoning
yeah.
behind anything. So that is one factor here.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that.
I mean, on that regard, I think we can end the live right here. I mean, we've almost covered everything bit of this Indian squad. We did do a detailed analysis yesterday as well. Thank you guys for joining. It was a pleasure talking about this for this long, and hopefully we'll join you all very soon as well on more discussion. We have to analyze all the squads leading into the Asia Cup. So Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal. We'll be talking about all of them in the coming days. Have a good time, all of you. See you all very soon. Take care and bye bye.
Bye bye, guys.